Today we're diving deep to learn how to use the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary effectively to take your English to the next level. Hey, my fellow English learner! I've already made a video comparing a few English dictionaries, including the Oxford Learners Dictionary. And even though it was a great monolingual dictionary to work with, my main complaint was that some very important things like collocations were hidden behind a paywall. I get it when I have to pay for a paper dictionary, but a subscription for an online dictionary? I don't know. However, this is one of the oldest and well respected dictionaries out there, so I decided to give it a try. So here we are. This is the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, and it's very important that it's a learner's dictionary. Every definition in it is written using the 3,000 most common English words, which means that you can easily understand any word in this dictionary, no matter how complicated or advanced. This search bar is the most important thing in the whole dictionary. Type a word, and the dictionary will find it for you. You can choose between British English and American English. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. Let's search for a word, a noun like a cat. Before we start, instead of saying the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary all the time, I'm gonna use Oxford. So in Oxford, the first thing you'll notice is the part of speech of a word. The key indicates that this word is very common from the 3,000 most common words specifically. A1 is the level of difficulty for this word. Next, pronunciation, British and American. You can click on these icons and listen to the way the word is pronounced or read the IPA symbols. Learning how to read the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, can be really useful. If I were you, I definitely consider that. In some situations, you just can't rely on listening to the audio. Like maybe you're in a noisy environment, or you're reading on a Kindle, or you're using a paper dictionary. It's also helpful if you want to learn any other languages besides English. The star is something you can't use if you're not paying for the subscription. As far as I understand, it allows you to add words into your own word lists. Sounds interesting, but I'm not paying for it now. A lot of words have a few different meanings, and you get example sentences for each of them and extra example sentences if you wish. It's very important to read and understand these example sentences because if you want to use a word, understanding its meaning is not enough. Topics is a really cool feature we're gonna discuss in the next video, so subscribe! Collocations. They are crucial for us learners. Unfortunately, here you need to pay for them to get full access to collocations, which is a bummer. There are a few things you can do to find the collocations you need. Read the example sentences carefully. A lot of important and common word combinations are already there. You can find some collocations if you go to Resources, Usage Notes. You can also use another dictionary as a supplement. The Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English is my absolute favorite. And there are some other great resources I talked about in my video about collocations. So the lack of access to collocations in Oxford is not the end of the world, just a mild annoyance. The origin of words is something you don't necessarily need, but is super fun to explore. At the end, you'll find idioms. Here's a tip for you. If you know what you're looking for and you want to find it fast, use a combination of Control plus F. if you're a Windows user, or Command plus F if you're a Mac user, and type some part of the word you're trying to find. It can save you so much of your precious time. Pay attention to these little words in brackets like old-fashioned, informal, saying, British English, etc. They will help you understand how to use a word in the appropriate context and be as fluent and natural as possible. Now let's search for a verb. Bring. Interestingly, Oxford doesn't indicate if this verb is transitive or intransitive here, at least not explicitly. Transitive verbs need an object after them. However, it does say here, bring somebody something, which basically means that you need an object, that this verb is transitive. Anything in bold letters is important. Usually it's something like collocations. Every meaning of this word has a different level. It happens. Some uses are just more common than others. A really useful thing I wanted you to pay attention to are these little, categories. With them, you can find the exact meaning you're looking for very quickly. For example, bring can mean come with somebody something, give, provide, cause, etc. You can sort through all these meanings fast by just looking at these one or two word phrases. With many meanings, use the Control F or Command F combination we discussed earlier. If you're looking up a phrasal verb, this arrow symbol is important. It means that you can change the position of an object, you can bring something about, or you can bring about something. Apart from normal vocabulary, in Oxford you'll find a lot more complicated academic words. Let's look at the word determine. These two icons, OPAL-W and S, mean that this word is very common in academic writing and speaking. And do you remember when I told you that there were no transitive, intransitive markers earlier? Here they are. I guess Oxford uses more grammar-related terminology with more complicated vocabulary. Have you ever used this dictionary? Tell me in the comments. And while you're there, tap the like button. For more dictionary-related videos, click here. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time with more awesome language content.